We have to talk about the current altcoin market. Things are booming since the last time I talked about it. Today we're going to talk about the general altcoin health and more specific altcoins like Ethereum, PolkaDot, Link, AVAX, Atom, and REEF. So in general, all the altcoins we've been talking about on this channel. If you don't want to watch the whole video but only are interested in specific altcoins, you can use the timestamps in the description or the chapters in the video below. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome to a new video on PolkaBTC. Today we're going to talk about the altcoin market. But first I want to thank you hugely for all the new subscribers and all the likes I've been getting and the nice comments on the latest videos. We are at 250 subscribers right now, and I want to thank all 250 of you. If you like the content and you want to see more of these altcoins that I've been talking about, please press the subscribe button below. Alright, let's get started on the altcoin market. So right here we're looking at the market cap of the BTC dominance. So how dominant is Bitcoin compared to all the other coins in the altcoin market? What we see here is a percentage of the whole crypto space and how much BTC consists of that. So at this top, the market cap of Bitcoin was around 73% of the whole market cap of crypto. And we see since January, we really have been moving down. Where at the beginning of January, we have been going down massively. Right now, we're consolidating a bit, but we do see that this move down is actually happening right now. And I do expect that we will drop down further in the dominance, which will mean that BTC will become a bit less dominant compared to the altcoins. And let me talk about why I think that. Well, first of all, we always have to talk about Ethereum, because Ethereum is the mother of all altcoins. When Ethereum moves, the rest can also move. And often, the children of Ethereum or the other altcoins move faster than Ethereum, but Ethereum is the leader in this. So to show you this, let's compare Ethereum to some of the other altcoins. What we see here, the move at the beginning of January, the 3rd of January, all the way up to the 25th of January, we see that Ethereum was in a general uptrend, and we moved up about 100%. If you look at other good performing altcoins during that time, it's exactly the same time they are moving up, but just a bit more heavy. You see, this is exactly the same time that we have been moving up. Actually, here's the 3rd of January. So we see PolkaDot was actually going down when Ethereum was going up, but eventually we did a 160% move on PolkaDot. And this holds the same for all the other altcoins out there. So for other altcoins to move, we first have to see a move on Ethereum. So let's talk about what Ethereum is right now doing, starting with the USDT pair. What we see currently on the USDT pair is that we have been forming a triangle, which I've been talking about in our latest live stream. I actually live streamed around this low point, and I told everyone, don't panic, just wait for this dip to go over. It seems like we're finding support around this 0.66 level, or at least in this zone. Well, it seems that we actually bounced above it, and use that to buy more. That's what I said in my live stream. And what do we see? Since that time, we have been moving up. What I actually expected, and I actually also projected in that live stream, what I did project on in my live stream, though, is that we would go to the top of this triangle, we would move down a bit, and then at the beginning or during mid-April, we would move out of this triangle and we would get an exponential move up. What we did see, though, is that we already broke through this triangle, which is already very bullish. So the last 3 days, we have been moving up. And actually this daily level from here, where we do normally have some resistance, has quite convincingly been broken by a daily candle already. So the only thing holding us back right now is the old all-time high. And after that all-time high is met, I think we can retest the all-time high a bit and then move up exponentially to around a 3K Ethereum during April, maybe even by the end of April. So those are my projections for Ethereum. Something that is in line with that is the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. So here we see the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. And notice that we are talking about a longer time frame. We're not talking about the 5-minute chart. We're not talking about the 15-minute chart. This is the daily chart. So the projections that we're doing are for the coming couple of weeks, not what will happen tomorrow. I just wanted to put it out there. All right, looking at this chart, since the beginning of the bull market, we've been going in turns. First, it's Ethereum's time to shine, then it's Bitcoin's time to shine. And that's what we see in the Ethereum compared to Bitcoin ratio. When this ratio is going up, it means Ethereum is performing better than Bitcoin. And when it's going down, it means Bitcoin is performing better than Ethereum. This doesn't necessarily have to mean that the USD value is going up. It's just comparing Ethereum to Bitcoin. And what we see over time is that Ethereum is doing really, really well over short periods of time and then has a somewhat longer bleed. So we have seen this in September, where we had almost 2 weeks of explosive moves up and then a few months of going down. Then again, an explosive move up and we were going down. This one was a bit longer, but again, it's split up into multiple explosive moves up and a longer period going down. And we just see this pattern repeat. And we also see that this price, or at least this ratio, is mostly between this band. So doing technical analysis on this, we see that we here left this band and went all the way down to find the resistance point of this top. Right now, we're again at the low point of the band. We left the band, and it seems like we're almost finding resistance at the previous stop right here, the next stop to the first one. What that means to me, or what that indicates to me, is that the Ethereum Bitcoin pair, we also see it now very recently, is moving up. And what I think what will happen for the remainder of April and maybe even May is that we will move up to the top of the band and do an explosive move up like we've seen before, where we will outperform Bitcoin. So what I measured here is around 60%. We outperform Bitcoin by 60%, which will probably mean that the whole altcoin market in itself will also move massively. So that's my projection for April and May, purely based on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. So what do I think? I think altcoin season is very, very near. All right, that's it for Ethereum. Let's now talk about specific altcoins. All right, on to our first altcoin, which is PolkaDot. Let's see what PolkaDot has done over the last few weeks. Well, we can see that from the beginning of the rally of PolkaDot, it was still really low. It was around $5. We have tested this 50-day moving average, after which we had a huge spike up. Then we had a correction to the 50-day moving average again. We had a spike up. And since then, we have been hovering above this 50-day moving average until February 21st. And then we were consolidating for a bit, dipped down below the 50-day moving average. And then we had a rally up recently, and we're almost at all-time highs again. So this is quite bullish for PolkaDot. You can see that we have touched this 0.5 line on the Fibonacci level, which I'm very bullish about. And I think that we will continue from this point on. Let's actually reverse this Fibonacci retracement level, and then we will see some targets. And we see that the first target is around $60. So that is for now around almost 60% from here. But I wouldn't be surprised if DOT rallies further than Ethereum, because usually when the altcoins go, DOT goes faster than the rest. All right, let's go to the DOT BTC pair, because I think that's also interesting to look at. I don't know exactly what I've written here, but clearly we were in a triangle here where we broke out. We came back. We found support around this resistance level here. So here we had some struggle getting through. We actually dipped below a bit. And what's interesting is that this is the all-time high for the DOT BTC pair. Here we dipped below it a bit. Let's look at it at the weekly. yeah, we dip below it a bit, which is normally not happening. We can have a quick downside turn here for a very short period of time, but mostly we then close above these all-time highs. However, we are just moving up again. And I think also since Ethereum is doing well, this thing will also keep going up. Some targets for that one. Let's take a closer look at the current move. And the current move is from here to here. We see that we have touched the 0.382 line, which is normally on the BTC pair for altcoins, the turning point. So we see we have touched it. That's pretty bullish. And then the first target here is around 0.001 BTC per dot, which is around 54% from here. I do think we will move up to the second level though, the 111%, if Ethereum BTC can go up to the top of this range, as we have talked about in the Ethereum analysis. So bullish things for DOT. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be bullish on almost all altcoins in this video. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Alright, let's talk about Link. Well, Link in the history has been performing amazingly, and I think it's very deserved. Link is now in the top 10. They have been putting out great work, and the Oracle is used in a lot of projects right now. However, we're not going over the fundamentals of Link. Right now we're talking about technical analysis. So before I go over the recent price action, let's talk a bit about the past. We can see here that we had two major resistance points. We saw that we had a support resistance flip right here, where this resistance became support. And then we almost did the same here, where we had some major resistance. However, we saw that this correction never took us back to this resistance point, which normally means that we could always get back to this resistance. However, right now, we are so far away from there, almost 500%. And if we were to go down to that point, that would be around 80%, that I don't think fundamentally this will happen. So theoretically, this could happen on a technical analysis basis. However, I think ChainLink is so fundamentally strong, we will never see this $5 level again. So then we go look at a more recent action, and that's actually more interesting. We have a similar kind of pattern where here we have found some highs, some resistance, and here we have actually tested that resistance again. So this is around the same price level, if not exactly the same. And we see that we had a large bounce here and then corrected here. So yeah, on ChainLink, we can see that we have been forming a bullish triangle here, a continuation pattern. We are coming from the bottom. We are forming a symmetrical triangle, and right now we're breaking out, just as Ethereum is right now breaking out of its own symmetrical triangle. Same happens to Link. So I think Link can take it to new highs. What you normally see is that we go up at least the amount of the largest part, the width of the triangle, so to say, which right now would be at $47 in the short term. I think in the long term, fundamentally, Link can definitely go up to $100. But for the short term, we have to eyeball this level around $47. And maybe to round it off, because of the psychological barrier, we have to look at $50. Let's look at the Link BTC pair. Again, beautiful things. Let me reverse this one so we can compare it with the previous one. So what we see here, Link has gone down to the 0.382 level. Actually, we have dipped quite a bit below. I think that's interesting because normally this 0.382 is a tipping point for for altcoins. So I would have been very bullish here already, but we have seen that because of all the altcoin action, we have dipped quite a bit below. And we actually have been on a downside trend for a long time. I think since we had a rally in May 2020 until August 2020, and actually during the bull market, Link hasn't been performing as well compared to all the other altcoins, except for the small period of time where Ethereum was rallying. I do think in a very short time, Link is gonna rally. That does have to do with some fundamental analysis though, because a lot of new projects, which get a lot of hype, are using Link as an oracle to get data from the outside into their project. And if all of these projects are very successful, that would logically also make Link very successful. So I think Link is one of the projects that is definitely rightfully in the top 10. What that means for the price, that I think that the more projects that get well known and used, I think that does something to the price of Link. So what I expect for the short-term movements is that we will get an exponential move up like we have seen here when Ether actually goes up. We expect a new Ether move right now. So I also expect a exponential move for Link right now. And already this move would be around 100% against Bitcoin. But I don't think we will stop there for Link. We will come down a bit, do another resistance support flip, and then move to new highs for Link. And that's actually pretty huge, because from this point until this all-time high for Link, we are away like 231%. So if we do move to this all-time high, we go up 231% against Bitcoin. So that's a 230% in dollar move, given that Bitcoin doesn't move. And we know that we're quite bullish on Bitcoin for the longer term. So around June, July, where I expect we will see these highs for Link, we will have more than 230% in USD value on Link, which is also why I think Link will go to $100. All right, that's it for Link. So now we have to talk about AVAX, one of the smaller altcoins on the list. And with smaller, I mean it's not in the top 10. So what has been going on with AVAX? I've been getting a lot of comments on the videos lately that AVAX has been performing shit. And the reason why I got these comments is because in the beginning of March, I said that we would rally in March. And back then, the indications were all bullish for AVAX. What do I mean by that? We had retraced all the way down to the 0.236 Fibonacci level. We have slowly moved up with the 50-day moving average. And looking back, when we go above these 50-day moving average, we actually leave it for quite some time. However, it has been seen that in the middle of March, late March, we had broken down. And in the live stream, I've also mentioned this, that this is mainly because all of the altcoins are performing not so well. And AVAX, as one of the smaller ones, is reacting more heavily to that. So that's the reason why we have been quite horizontal for the last month, maybe month and a half. I do still think AVAX will rally pretty soon. The reason why is because Ethereum is going up, the whole altcoin space is moving, so the smaller altcoins will react a bit later, but also more aggressively. So what do I mean by more aggressively? Well, I've already printed this price increase here. To an all-time high, it would already be 100% increase to a $60. But the first level on top of the all-time high is around $90, and $90 is 200% up already. And this is a short-term projection. It's not even a long-term projection for AVAX. The short-term projection for AVAX is that we have our first pump into another pump, where we will now have our first pump. We had a bit of a correction. We will now have a first pump into some horizontal action, maybe all the way down to this point, I don't know. And then a second pump to these major highs. This is all very speculative. This is pretty technical. So what I mean by that is that this has more certainty to happen. It's always a risk, of course, than the second move that I'm talking about. But if we are going to replicate this move right here, that's what it's going to look like. This is AVAX USDT, and we also have to talk about AVAX BTC, but the main message I want to give you is be patient with AVAX. I do still hold AVAX, and I do still think major things are going to happen for AVAX. So to the AVAX BTC pair, because you are right, AVAX hasn't been performing as I thought it would be. You see this arrow right here. I think this is even from the video still. I thought we had found our bottom, and still it remains that this is our bottom. We didn't move lower than that point. But from this bottom point, we saw a move up, and it was pretty indicative that we were going up to new highs. This bottom also made sense. We saw some resistance here. We had a resistance to support flip. We had reached our 0.786 Fibonacci level already. This is the same as the other one. Let's reverse it. So this is the same as the 0.236, which is normally definitely a bottom for an altcoin. But when we move below here and we have found our bottom, we can see that even a move from here to the top is already 172% against BTC. So no matter what BTC does, or depending on what BTC does, it of course makes sense for the USDT value. But against BTC, if AVAX reaches its all-time high, it moves up 172%. That's a lot. So even if we have to wait a bit longer for AVAX, once it eventually goes up, it will go up by a lot. And that's the thing I want to mention about AVAX. Obviously, it's a bit more risky than one of these major altcoins I'll be talking about, but the upside is quite big. All right, that's everything I wanted to talk about with AVAX. Let's move on to the next altcoin. All right, so on to Atom. And Atom is actually interesting because it's showing some similarities with what we have seen with AVAX, but just not as low. What I mean by that is that we had a huge move up from $6 all the way to $26. This was a major spike, of course. And you see this is almost all the way up. Then we had a pretty large correction during February, all the way to almost this 0.5 level. Actually, we went a bit below, but we don't want to call out the wicks too much. Then we had a bit of a move up, and it did seem at that time that this was actually an indicative move. But what we had seen already during my video is that we were moving below this 50-day moving average. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm very bullish on Atom, but be careful because we are below this 50-day moving average. Right now, we are retesting the 50-day moving average, and we're also at this crucial 0.66 and 0.618 level. If we do break to the upside on Atom here and reclaim this 50-day moving average as support, which I honestly think it will, then we can look for new all-time highs and even new levels. Right here to the next level above the all-time high is around 100% increase. It would be $38, which is pretty big. I'm not promising that on the short term, so not in a week, not in 2 weeks, but I do think that by the end of April, maybe the beginning of May, we would be hitting these higher levels. And you can notice that I'm talking a bit more strict here, but that's mainly because I've been getting these comments about these altcoins that I post that haven't popped off yet. And once they do, I always get the comments that, you're too late with your analysis when I do it afterwards. You want to buy these coins when they are down. You don't want to buy these coins like Atom when they're pumping. You want to buy these coins when the pump has happened, then there is a dip, and at around this point, that's when you want to buy them. Imagine buying Atom at $7 and riding it all the way to 26. This is the point where you want to buy, once we head to correction. So at the low points, that means you have to be sitting on your altcoins for a bit. That also holds for Atom. All right, that was a bit of a rant, but let's see here. Like I said, if we reclaim this 50-day moving average level, reclaim it as support, move up, then we will see new all-time highs, and the next level above the all-time high is 100% at $39-ish. All right, so on the Atom BTC pair, I see some things that I don't really like yet. I have to be honest with you. I don't know whether we have found the bottom yet. I'm a bit more certain with the other altcoins than with this altcoin. We could have found the bottom right here. But what I don't like about Atom, about Cosmos, what I like about the other altcoins, is that here we haven't reached this 0.618 and 0.66 level yet. We haven't been in this region. And why this is so important? Because it has also been major resistance here before we had the large pump up in February. So the logical level for a bottom would be around this level, and we haven't quite reached that yet. It doesn't mean that this could not be the bottom. Of course it could be, because all the altcoins are moving up, and it would only be logical that Atom follows. However, I do want to beware you that there is some downside risk in Atom, around 15% to the downside, if you are buying into Atom. On the other hand, though, there is a lot of upside. So there's around 64% until a new all-time high, and let's, just like the other charts, flip this one. We will see the first level above, and let's measure it in percentages. That would be around 140% against Bitcoin. So that's very bullish. I'm also super bullish on Atom on a fundamental level. If you don't know what Atom is, please watch my other video about Atom. Atom is pretty amazing. A lot of projects are using Atom right now, and I think Atom can do a PolkaDot-like move upwards. So not only this is technical analysis, I'm also super bullish on Atom on the fundamental side. And we do see that these levels here, this first level, does add up to the high we have already been on. And it's not even an all-time high that would be at this level. So this move up is not even unrealistic at this point. And even if we would draw something like a Elliott wave count, where we would find our bottom here, we would have a second wave to here, maybe re-find this this support here, and then have a final move up to either here or here. If we do move up to the 0.00157 level, though, I think Atom would definitely be in the top 10. And then it's time to celebrate, because from here, that would be around a 400% move against Bitcoin. So given that Bitcoin moves up even, imagine what that could be for the USD value. The reason why I say we might find support here, if such a move happens, is because, again, we saw major resistance here, but also here around the same levels. All right. That's it for Atom so far. Let's move on to our last altcoin of today, which is the most speculative one, and that's REEF. All right, on to REEF. Starting about REEF, I have to give a disclaimer. I don't hold REEF anymore. I do hold all the other altcoins that I have mentioned today, but the one exception is a REEF. I don't hold a REEF anymore. And let me tell you why. Currently, we have seen some sideways action on REEF, but also we didn't really see a huge spike up into a correction for REEF. That indicates to me that there hasn't been a lot of hype on REEF yet. That can mean two things. The first thing is, of course, that this gem is still undiscovered, or the second thing could be that people are not interested. We yet have to see what will happen. The technical analysis on these majors and on these a bit more speculative altcoins that are still in the top 100 but not on the top 10 indicate that there is a lot of interest and hype in these coins. For REEF, that still remains to be seen. We have seen new highs on DOT, so it already has made these higher levels. So it would only make sense that the same people are still interested in the coin, but maybe sold because of panic, because of whatever, and now wanting to buy back once they see it going up again. That doesn't hold for REEF. That doesn't mean I'm totally bearish on REEF though. I just think that during this altcoin season at the start, that REEF won't be the coin that pops off the most, or the earliest, so to say. So what we've seen on the technical side is that REEF has been forming this ascending triangle with higher lows and similar highs. What this normally means is that the price will explode once we get to the end of the triangle. If we look at where we are right now, today is the 2nd of April, And at the end of April, we would have a close of the triangle. That does mean that I'm looking into buying REEF maybe at the end of April, because what would be targets by then? Well, we normally look at the size of the ascending triangle at the beginning, then look at the breakout points. This is the log scale, so that's why this scales. And we see that the target then would be around 0.083, so around 8 cents. And that would be a huge move up from here. However, REEF is speculative. We have to see how this develops. It could go below the ascending triangle, and then this would invalidate our assumption about REEF that it will finish this triangle. And we have to see whether the REEF team can deliver and a lot of hype gets onto REEF. This all sounds pretty bearish. I'm actually I still like the REEF project, and I do want to buy into it at some point. I just think that April will be all about the majors, about the top 100. These will move a lot. After which, the micro caps can move again. And REEF is not really a micro cap, but it's a pretty low cap coin. I do think though that for REEF the sky is the limit, since we didn't really have all-time highs. Obviously I counted the Elliott wave count to this super pump at the first day, but really this shouldn't be counted in the technical analysis. Our real all-time high right now is around 5.6 cents, but that does mean once we do move up from this all-time high, the sky really is the limit for REEF, because we haven't seen previous highs yet. So who knows? We go into price discovery. So later in April, I'm definitely interested in buying some more REEF. Let's also look at the REEF BTC pair, because we have done it for everything. And we see something pretty similar here, only it's not a ascending triangle, it's a descending triangle. And I do think that we will break out of this descending triangle at some point. And I think the most likely thing that will happen is this second arrow that you see here, that we will find some new highs, and by the beginning of May we actually do explode to the upside. However though, we have to see whether the support here, this lower bound of this descending triangle holds. If we do drop below it, I'm definitely bearish on REEF. However, if we do drop to some levels like these, which I don't expect, I do think REEF is pretty stable right now. I don't think it will explode soon. So if we do go to these depths, then I will probably scoop up some more. And I'm interested at the end of April again, when we do break out of this triangle, when we do break out of the USD triangle, I'm interested in buying REEF for the long term. All right, we've talked about a lot of altcoins today. It's been a pretty long video. In general, the conclusion is altcoin season is near, and that's mainly because of this Ethereum Bitcoin pair, which you've talked about in the Ethereum analysis. Once this reaches its top, I think that we will be having some more moves on the microcaps, and then it's time for BTC to shine again. And like it has done in the past, it will be an altcoin season into a Bitcoin season. And mostly the Bitcoin season takes a bit longer than the very explosive altcoin seasons that we see. If you like the content, please drop a like below and drop a comment about this video if you have any questions or have any comments to me. I've had a lot of fun reading all of these comments. If you like the content, please press the subscribe button. There's a lot more content coming. Also on new altcoins, I'm really investigating a lot. Maybe even on some micro caps for the end of April or the middle of April. Once we really get into this middle zone of Ethereum Bitcoin, I think it's really interesting to look at some of these micro caps. If you're interested in that, press the subscribe button. Videos are coming soon, and thank you for watching.